Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my live streams. This is a live stream that I've been super excited about doing ever since I got a message from Brad. That was my camera. Sorry about that. So ever since I received a message from Brad, who goes by North Comics on Instagram, I've been excited about this. Brad sent me a message last week and he said, Reggie, have you seen Nerdy Girl's post? And I had not seen it because I was busy working, but he sent me a screen grab. I popped over, took a look at it, and I was blown away. And that's exactly why we are welcoming Nerdy Girl to the channel. It is good to see you.
Hi, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I'm excited to chat.
It is definitely my pleasure. And again, huge shout out to Brad, North Comics, for giving me the heads up on what you recently did. Do you have a relationship with Brad? Do you know him?
Only just through like social media. And I think we've met a couple of times at different conventions.
Very nice. The thing is I've spoken to several people who have met you at conventions and they have nothing but positive things to say, not just about you as a person, but also about your collection as well. And so I think that that's a wonderful sign.
For sure.
So we had some technical difficulties, but we are finally on the air live, and I want to welcome everybody to the chat. We have a ton of people that are already in the room, so I want to say hello to a couple of folks that are here. We have Cool and Collected here. WRX is in the house. Jana is in the house. Jacob is here. Hialeah Comics. Rush Diehard is here. Donald Riley is here. Brad E. Steve Rogers. Absolutely love that name. Sokoka, Comic Hunter is here. Mighty Comics Guy is in the house. And I think I saw Omega Comics and Ben here as well. It is good to see you guys. Wait, do you know Ben?
Yeah, he's a great friend.
Very nice. Ben is local to me, and we've had an opportunity to hang out several times. His knowledge is incredible.
Oh, huge. It's ridiculous. He crushes me tenfold.
His collection.
I'm watching on my other screen. As I'm watching, I can see where the comments are now. So sorry. I have two screens going.
That is all right. Yeah, Ben's definitely a good guy. I enjoy each of my interactions that I would have with him. And so, again, I think it's one of those things that there are a lot of people that know you, which I think is wonderful. But here's my thing. Before I get to that, the purpose of this live stream is really to showcase your amazing collection. Well, at least a small portion of the amazing collection that you have that I think you just got back from CGC. But then it's also to share with people who you are. And so that's kind of why we're doing this. I'm super excited about it. And what we're going to do is we normally have a very structured approach to our live streams. This one's going to be a little bit more fluid. And so we're going to kind of go with the flow. It's going to be less structured than others in the past. But if you guys are tuning in, you haven't subscribed to the channel, I definitely want to encourage you guys to do that so that you can stay abreast of all the content that I release on a daily basis. So one of the first questions I have for you is the fact that I've referred to you as Nerdy Girl several times. It's
You're not the only one.
It's like, do you have a real name, right? What is your real name? Will you share that with us?
If I share it, I have to reveal who I really am. It's Danielle.
It is nice to meet you, Danielle.
You also.
So where did the name Nerdy Girl actually come from?
I wish I had a really clever story for you, but I'm just kind of like this girl that was living in like this nerdy world, and I kind of found my place a few years ago, and it's like, oh, Nerdy Girl.
Makes sense. It works. It works. But it's like, it's one of those things. I've had people that have watched my YouTube meet me in person, and they're like, friendly neighborhood bodybuilder. And I'm like, I haven't made it. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I think people, I think it's just one of those things that you're so used to using someone's like screen name that
Yes.
you forget what the real name is. You never lock it in, you know?
Well, are you on the CGC boards too? Like
No.
I'll meet CGC board. Okay, so I'll meet CGC board members, Dojos, and I'm like, oh, you're so and so. I know who you are. And
Yeah.
I'll call them. It's same thing with Instagram. I call them by their Insta names. Oh, you're so and so. We don't know their real names.
No. And a lot of people don't even use their real name on their
Truth.
social media. And so it's just, I think it's just one of those things that instead of trying to remember names, you try to just remember
Oh, I
screen
know
names.
your bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how you find people, you know? And what really kills me is I will talk to someone and I won't know it's the same person because I talk to them in email, I talk to them on Instagram and YouTube, and they're all different
All
names.
different names. Ben.
Yeah, he is a good example of that. But it's just one of those things. I need like a matrix. I need a matrix
Right.
of names so that I can keep track of everyone, you know?
Bro, you just need their picture.
Yeah, yeah, a little thumbnail, you know, a little thumbnail goes a long way.
Yeah.
So, all right, the name is Danielle, aka Nerdy Girl Comics. There is no good story behind it other than she's a nerd and she's a girl and she likes comics. So there you go.
It's easy to remember, right?
It is indeed. So here's the one of the first questions that I have for you is you said a few moments ago that you found yourself a few years ago. Help me to understand what that means, because the question that I have for her is kind of like, how did you get into comics? And I think that may have been what you were just alluding to.
So I got into it through my boyfriend. Like we've been together like 14 years and he was a huge comic book collector. And I was like, comic books, what? Like, what's this? I have no interest. These are taking up so much space in our house. You're spending so much money. And then I started realizing, oh my gosh, what a badass group of people these guys are. Because if you don't know and you're not in like that circle, you don't realize it's almost like an underground secret society, right? Of like all these people. Is that a fair description?
It's a fair statement.
Right? And people kind of discredited me a lot because it was like, oh, it's just a girl. She doesn't know anything. She doesn't know about comic books. And then I was like, I really appreciate the art and I really appreciate the investment side. And I started educating myself and I do shows by myself now. I run a lot of the booths now at conventions. And Nerdy Girl is all me. Like that's all my side of it. And I just kind of have fun with it now. I've kind of found my place. All the guys kind of accept me as like a legit person now. And it's not like, oh, that's so-and-so. They're like, oh, that's her.
Yep. So here, someone just made a comment that my audio is a little choppy. It's actually not my audio. It is actually my voice. We found out that I don't have food poisoning. I have some kind of virus and it's affecting my voice. So
through the internet.
yeah, I'm actually drinking some tea with honey and lemon because my voice is all messed up. So bear with me, guys. So you're with your boyfriend. He was into comics. You decided that you wanted to investigate all of these boxes that he had and learn. And so how did you go about doing that? Like, what was it, do you think, that piqued your curiosity enough for you to start looking into it and digging deeper?
Honestly, part of it was the value, right? Of like what these books were worth, the history of them, the significance of them, the rarity and scarcity of them.
Yep.
And it was just cool. And I was like, well, if I'm going to sit and have like real intelligent conversations and really immerse myself in this, I need to know my shit and I need to know what I'm talking about.
Yep. So how did you go about getting that education? I'm curious because, and I asked that because there are a lot of people that I've been talking with just today that have talked about the intimidation factor associated with comics. And you alluded to it as well, where you feel like you can't have a conversation with someone because that person may be more knowledgeable than you and may look at you as if you don't know anything because you ask what could be considered a basic question. Talk to me about that.
paid attention to everything going on around me. GPA is such a huge tool for figuring out values. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that isn't always reported, but it's a great, at least, reference point if you're just kind of delving into bigger books. Before the CGC chat boards got to what they were, that was a great source because there's still even a lot of information on there. I give them a little crap now because I don't like the new format. But if you're willing to take the time to dig, there's some great information on there still just to go back and teach yourself. And it's really paying attention, watch eBay, see what books are, read the CGC labels. There's so much information on them that tells you like what the history and significance of these books are. Even sometimes still I'll see a book and I'm like, why do you like that book? And I'm like, oh, okay, I see, I understand. I'll go Google it.
I think, and we talk a lot about that on my channel in terms of doing your own research. Like you can learn a lot from other people, but you also have to invest your time in understanding certain things. And so here's one of the things that I wonder about. Do you have a focus when you're doing your research? Do you have a specific focus, or is it kind of what piques your curiosity is what you start to look at? Like, talk to me about that.
It's kind of what piques my curiosity, right? I deal mostly in like keys and golden age, and so I don't really pay attention to modern books. If you ask me what the most popular modern book is right now, I couldn't tell you. Really, aside from like Hulk 181s and Giant Size X-Men ones and Spidey 129s, I don't even know a lot of the Bronze Age keys without Googling and checking eBay and saying, oh, this character must be in the movie. This book's trending up right now.
Yeah.
Let me see why this is doing it.
It seems that you have a very narrow focus, and don't take that as a criticism, just as an observation. That we are not offensive on the channel, not at all.
I'm not easily offended.
Yeah, but how did you narrow your focus to basically golden age and the keys? Is it because of what you said earlier about the values and that's where you are, or was it because of the boyfriend's influence, or just because that's where you found yourself at ease?
I think they're the best covers out there. And I think they're the most fun to hunt for because they're so much rarer. There are so many fewer saved and printed. And you could be more offensive on those covers, especially the old timelies. They're incredible. Like that art, you can't touch it now. And so I appreciate how just badass it is, right?
Yep. Got it. Got it. Very, very helpful. So do you consider yourself a collector, a dealer, or a little bit of both?
I think a little of both, but more dealer. There's like a few boxes that are hidden away that are not for sale, but a lot of stuff at the right price is for sale. And I do this for a living.
And that was really one of my questions, was whether you were a collector or primarily a dealer, like whether you even had a personal collection, whether everything is for sale. And it sounds like most things are for sale, but then there's a small portion that isn't for sale. Is that fair?
That's fair.
All right, very good. So you also now do this for a business, correct?
Yeah, always.
Okay. Always. Wait, help me to understand the always part.
Like as long as we've had these comics, there's always been a business. And it's just kind of evolved into something where it's like, oh, this is the job. I don't have to go work for somebody else.
Got it. Got it. And you definitely deal with
me working for someone else.
Go ahead.
No, I said, can you picture me working for someone else? It wouldn't end well.
Yeah, yeah. Well said. Well said. So let me see if there's any questions here in the chat before we move on. Zachary is asking, what's not for sale? We may actually get to some of that, actually, so hold on to that question. DS Comics, who is a pre-cold horror kind of guy and a guy I know well, says that Golden Age covers are indeed the best. Omega Comics says, great focus, Danielle. I have to grab my first Golden Age book from you. So we may get to that as well. Maybe you'll see something in this live stream that piques your curiosity, Omega Comics. And do you know much about Western covers? Big Will is saying that he enjoys the Western covers. I'm not sure if that's a genre that you play with.
I do not.
Danielle?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
Oh, I do not do Westerns. I appreciate people collecting them because without people collecting them, there wouldn't be a market, but it's just not my sweet spot. Yep. The pre-code horror stuff is incredible though, and I agree that is hot, hot, hot.
Yeah, and DS Comics, that's a lot of what he does. Yeah. I know that he has actually moved away from a lot of modern comics to the pre-code horror. And I know we've spoken about this. He actually flipped some of the modern books to get the pre-code horror books because that is his sweet spot. And I think that's a great thing about this hobby is everyone can have a sweet spot and none of them will be the same. And I think that's perfectly fine. All right, so let's go ahead and transition into part of what it was that brought us all together. And it is these books that you recently picked up. So you came into some amazing books. Can you tell us how you came into these books?
So there was a guy, we've been emailing back and forth with him for 15 years. And once a year, there'd be a check-in on either side. And it's like, hey, are you still selling these books? What are you going to do? Do you still have them? What's your plan? And a few weeks ago, he finally emailed and said, okay, do you want to come up to Rhode Island? It's time. Like, we're ready to sell everything. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is finally happening. And it's actually a full run of action 1 to 400 with a lot of duplicates. The guy was really cool in the fact that he'd have a really low grade copy and then he'd have a nicer copy too. So like there were 213s. They just told us they found, yeah, it's like crazy. I can see your face like, and it wasn't completely original owner. But to buy these books back then to be 12, the guy would be like 90 now. And he stopped collecting them in 1968. So a lot of them he did buy when he was a kid. And his Action 1, we found out he bought over 60 years ago for $100 in California.
Wow.
And we ended up in a bit of a bidding war. Obviously, we won. We were willing to pay more. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it was so exhilarating, right? I don't think I've ever seen a full Action 1 to 400 in one spot ever. And to have these guys, yeah. So it was really exciting. It was really, it was a little overwhelming, right? Because it's like, holy crap, this is finally happening. These books are here. And then it's like, well, they're not original owner. So we had to do like restoration checks and craziness. And thankfully everything was good. He had other books too. He collected Silver Age. He collected Pre-Heroes. There were probably 1,000 books total in the collection.
Wow. Were there doubles all the way through, or were there just certain books where he had doubles?
Nope, just certain books he had doubles. He had a couple of 13s. There's an issue in the 90s where he had like 5 copies of it. They're so weird. There were a couple 21s, 123, 17, 110. On the first 12, I think there was only 1 of each.
Okay.
But that's okay. There was still 1 of each.
I think he said 17 and 110. I think Ben was asking how many 7s, and he's saying 10 is tough.
It's so tough.
And Ben would know. He would know.
Right. Of all people, for real.
So this was a 15-year process to acquire this collection. How many people were in the bidding war? It was, I'm guessing, at least 2 parties because you need 2
Two.
people for a war. Right? 2
Yep,
people.
there were 2.
Do you know who the other party was?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to ask you. I'm also not going to ask you how much you paid. That is
A
not
lot.
the thing that I do.
But thank you.
If you want to disclose that, that's on you. I don't ask people dollar amounts. That's not my gig, you know.
It was a substantial
But
amount.
I think when you start out with 1, I already knew it was a lot, and then you went through 400. I think the math that it wasn't a cheap thing. So I think you recently dropped some books off at CGC. I think you recently received some of the books back. I think you said Monday you received some of them in.
Yeah.
Which ones did you do on Monday?
I got the 1, obviously. You guys want to see it? I got the 12.
Okay.
I have a stack over here. I got our 13 back, one of them.
Okay.
I got the 10. And then, so I got those 4. I got a couple more too, but these ones are much more fun to look at.
So let's check them out. I'll let you pull them out in whatever order you want to pull out, and then just talk to us about the significance of the issue, because I'm not certain that everyone's going to know the significance of every action book.
Okay. So we'll start with
let me
the
before you let me ask you a quick question. I think I know the answer to this. The DS Comics just prompted it. So you are in Florida, correct?
Yes.
And I think you hand delivered your books to CGC. When you went over, did they roll out a red carpet or
No.
a carpet for you to walk on? And then how many flowers were thrown at your feet? I'm curious.
It was hot pink. And they had and they had like 18 bags of rose petals waiting, just flowering me with them when I walked in. They were popping bottles in the lobby.
Did you call them up and say, hey, I'm bringing over action 1 through 400? Or did you just submit it online and then just roll in there? Like, how did that go?
I let them know I was coming.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're on a first name basis, I'm certain, with everybody over there. No, that's awesome. I knew you hand delivered them, but DS Comics kind of asked the question, so I wanted to make sure that I acknowledged that and also shared it with everyone else who didn't get a chance to see your Instagram. So I think you're about to show us one of the books here that you picked up.
Yeah, I'll share first. I'll share the 10. Super rare. Can you see it?
We can see
it.
it.
Is my camera okay?
Little glare, but it's fine. Oh,
okay,
that's
so
much better.
This is the 3rd Superman cover. There we go. Trying to see, I can see it in my camera. Better? Yeah. There we go. So it's the 3rd Superman cover. This one's super low grade. It's a 0.5. Like a few of them, it's unfortunately missing its back cover. Sad. This is not uncommon with this book, though. We sold another one. I don't know. Maybe it's just a great back cover and people just like it. And when kids were little, they'd take them off and pin them up on their walls, and they wouldn't think about what it was doing to values 70 years later.
Yeah, which is understandable. Understandable.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's next?
Let's do Action 12. There we go. So this is a Zatara cover, and it has an ad for Tech 27 in it. And it's just a great cover. Look at the colors, right?
Those yellow covers are awesome.
It's just great. It's like a cosmic.
And what's the grade on that? 3.5?
Yeah, that one's a 3.5.
And that was 12, correct?
Yeah, Action 12.
I think there were only 34 of those on the census. That's impressive.
Well, I have a 7 now also.
Did you just whisper that? I don't whisper that. I have a 7-0 as well.
So you know.
All right, which one is this?
This is 13, the 4th Superman cover. It's the first Ultra Humanite. It's a 3-0. So great.
That one is, I absolutely love that cover.
I know, because it's not like some like silly. His covers are usually very silly. I am not a DC girl. I am very much a timely covers. They made better covers. And that like battle. I know there's so many Superman fans.
That's a cool cover though. He is stopping a train.
Seriously, I agree with you. That is a great cover. I also like the 20 cover.
Oh wow.
Right, here we go. The Grail of Grails. So if you're watching this channel, you probably know what this book is, but if you're tuning in and you don't, it's the origin and first appearance of Superman. I got a lot of flack in a Facebook group for this book.
Wow.
So
what's crazy though is that there are 69 of those on the census when I did my research.
You're right.
69, but then the numbers just like drop off after that, which is just crazy. You would think it would be the opposite. That is impressive. Perry Comics says he would be screaming if he saw that in person.
If you ever find me in a show.
I think that's the last thing you want as a grown man to scream, but I think it would be understandable, right? If people knew why he was screaming. That is impressive. Now, did you just say if he sees you at a show, that implies that that book travels with you? Is that what I just heard?
Well, sometimes, or I've had Action 1s at booths before. We've got Tech 27s at our booths sometimes. When I set up at a show, I bring it.
You literally bring it. You literally bring it. That is impressive. So Brad E is saying, is that your first Action 1?
No, I was doing the math the other day, and it's actually the 8th copy that's passed through.
I am laughing to stop myself from crying. I talked to a guy recently, and Amazing Fantasy 15 is a book that I want. And he basically commented that he has had maybe 15 Amazing Fantasy 15s pass through his hands. And it was just, it's interesting the different levels that people find themselves in, especially like a newer collector versus someone that has done it for a long time, or someone that does it for a business. It's a little different, you know? So let me ask you, the books that you just showed, are those personal collection books, or are these are on the table for sale books?
Those are on the table for sale. There's a full Action run that we have in like a keeper box, but they're all nicer than those ones. So these would all be under copies. So these are all available.
And here's the thing. I just assumed that these were the first ones you ever had, and that you were just gonna like treasure these. No, that doesn't seem to be the case. How many Action 1s do you have in your possession now?
Just one. Just this one.
Just the one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if you were gonna whisper to me that you had an 8 somewhere else.
If you asked me that a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, I could have said 2.
That's impressive. That is impressive. So here, how do you go about finding these deals, right? And I'm not asking for secrets, right?
No, not at all.
It's more about like, how do you find someone that actually has Action Comics 1 through 400 just sitting around?
Well, that was follow-up, right? That was follow-up and consistency. It's networking, it's talking to people, it's asking questions, it's partnering with people on collections. It's staying just relevant in the hobby and in the industry and letting people know, listen, we'll pay more literally than anyone else will for these bucks.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like having that. I'm very competitive by nature. Clearly.
Very competitive, and you have deep pockets. And so I think that those two.
Listen, I don't know what you're talking about.
So here, let me ask you. So action, you've had several Action comics come through your hands. You have a separate set of books over there that is more for the personal collection. Do you have a grail that you actually want that you don't have now? And if so, what is that book?
I would like back the Windy City Cap 1.
Say that one more time.
I would like to get back the Windy City Cap 1.
Got it. I'm guessing you sold the book at some point?
Yeah, like 9 years ago, and I regret it. It was so beautiful. Yeah. It was an incredible grade, and that book is tough now again. That's the one I would take back.
So is it safe to say you're like a Captain America Avengers fan?
Captain America Golden Age, Thor Silver Age.
Got it. There we go. That definitely helps. That definitely helps. Is there a book in your collection now that you do consider a grail? Is there something that you have now?
Journey 83 9-0.
Wait a minute, did you just get a Journey 83? You just picked that up, right?
The 9-0 I had. I just got a 5.5 in this collection.
Right. Yeah, I thought so. All right. Very cool. Very cool. So where does AF-15 fall on your scale? I'm personally curious. Where does it fall?
I know that's
real high. Go ahead.
I don't know how to answer this question because I know that's like your grail you're searching for right now.
Let's not talk about it because you're about to hurt my feelings. I don't want to talk about it.
I think you can choose better covers.
Okay, well, that is true. That is true. I will not disagree with you on that one. I will not disagree. I know you mentioned that you're a fan of timely covers. There are some really nice timely covers out there. DS Comics has introduced me to the Schomburg stuff. RB3 has spoken to me about that. Ben has spoken to me about that. At some point when I grow up, I may get one of those books, but I have not made that leap into Golden Age. But maybe one day.
Just do it.
Yeah, that's what they just keep saying.
You have to. The hunt's more fun.
When I reach in my pocket, there's no Golden Age money there.
Listen, I see some books on your wall behind you there that would help pay for that Golden Age.
Those are my children. I love all of my children. That's not true. That's not. I'll sell these children.
I don't know. I don't know if my face is on a back freeze or not.
You are hilarious. Well done, my friend. All right, so you are more dealer than anything, right? You are doing this full time as a business. Someone earlier asked, "What books do you have for sale?" I'm guessing you have a stack of books off to the side. What's over there right now that's hot that you have for sale? What do you have?
You want me to flash quick?
Sure. You said you bring it. Oh yeah.
That's one. 3.5.
That's nice.
I just picked that one up. Here's the Journey 83. Listen, if someone buys the Journey 83, they can post about Thor's Day.
Oh no! JD loves Thor. JD loves Thor. He's in the room here. Ooh, those are some killer books.
This is an NFS, but I had to share.
That's nice. Where's Ben?
Right. This one is a little at the right price. That's
Which one is that? Action
380. Oh.
Those are nice.
Adventure 40. This is Sandman. He
Nice
puts you
cover.
to sleep.
That's a nice one. And those are all blue label. I haven't seen any restored books.
Well, I try not to.
Yeah. Avenger. That's an
Right?
8.5.
That's an 8.5. Yeah.
Wow.
This is a beautiful copy too.
Wow.
It has off-white pages. Oh, this one's so nice too. You'll like this one because it's not AF-15, but it's the counterpart.
Oh my goodness. Look at that grade. That is ridiculous. I'll trade you my 2.0. That is
I don't
gorgeous.
feel like that's a fair trade for me.
Wow.
And then X-Men 1, 4.0.
Final one.
I mean, does that exist? Maybe on a modern book.
I've got a 5 back there. I feel really good about myself now. I feel
An
good
X-Men 5?
Yeah, that's
you
all
can
that
beat
I
me on
have.
that. I don't have that one. You
Very
can't
nice.
see, but
That
on
is
my wall behind me, I have the Spidey run set up. I posted a picture. That's like where all like the work happens.
So what is that back there? Spidey wall, you said?
Yeah, that's like the run of Spideys.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, DS Comics says, I got you beat on the X-Men 1. Brother, that's the only thing that I have her beat on.
Who says there's not another one somewhere?
When she made that comment about bringing it, yeah. I'm just happy to have at least one book out of the ones that she showed. Well, I technically had 2. Beat her on 1. I feel good about myself. Not really, but all right. So
One's
let's see if
better
there's
than
any.
none.
Say that again.
One's better than none.
Well said. Well said. As they oftentimes say, low grade is better than no grade, right? At least I got on the board.
True.
So Comic Books NYC says, what's the highest grade Amazing Fantasy 15 that you've sold, if you recall the highest grade?
I think an 8.5.
That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. I mean, they're all just wonderful books, but the grades are really impressive. They really are, you know? So as we get ready to wrap up, because we do have time limits that we place on some of these things to kind of keep the conversation flowing at a nice pace. What cons will you be attending upcoming?
There's a little show down in Miami at the end of the month. It's a one-day show that like IG comic guys are putting together. I'll be there. I will be in Chicago wandering, so come find me. I won't have a booth, but I'll be wandering and I'll drop books in some booths. I'm setting up in MegaCon.
Okay.
There's a one-day show in New Hampshire.
Is MegaCon?
That's in May.
Is MegaCon in Orlando? Is MegaCon in Orlando?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
then you said New Hampshire. What's in New Hampshire?
Jason Brodnick, Little Giant Comics, is putting on a one-day show up in New Hampshire in April. I'll be there. He's a great guy too. Where else? Maybe Heroes in June. San Diego.
Yep. That's what DS Comics just asked a second ago, was Heroes Con. I've heard about the Little Giant Comics. I follow him on Instagram. And then someone today told me about the Mega Con or whatever, the one in Orlando. Someone asked if I was coming down there. What's crazy is I actually lived in Florida for a couple of years. My wife and I lived there in Fort Lauderdale. And we were all over that area. Jonah is asking a question here about whether you do business overseas or whether it's primarily on cons.
No, I sell online all the time. I'm happy to do a mail order.
So how can people find you? People that are interested that won't see you at a con, where can they find you if they're interested in picking up any of the books that you showcased tonight or beyond? Follow
me on Instagram, Nerdy Girl Comics, with underscores in between. So nerdy_girl_comics. Or shoot me an email. My email is nerdygirl1031@gmail.com.
There you go. Repeat it one more time for the slow writers out there.
Nerdy Girl Comics over on Instagram. And then my email is nerdygirl1031@gmail.com.
There you go. So I want to thank you for agreeing to be on the show. I want to thank you for
Oh
showing
yeah, we
those
have
amazing
eBay
books.
too. Can I plug our eBay
Oh,
name
go
too?
ahead. Go for it.
Can I plug eBay? Filter81 on eBay.
One more time.
Filter81 on eBay.
And if you guys send me links to your social media, your eBay account, I will plug it into the description of this video to make it a little bit easier for people to find it. So if you guys do that when we wrap up, I will take care of that. But I want to thank you, Danielle, and I'm guessing your boyfriend is off to the side there. I want to thank you for coming on the channel, for sharing those amazing books, for letting us learn a little bit more about you. This is what this comic book community is all about. It's about, you know, having this opportunity to live vicariously through other people in some cases, because I may never own an Action One, but I'm excited about it because you're excited about it, because these guys are excited about it. And that's what makes all of this fun. So thank you very much for spending a little time with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'll chat with you soon. Thanks, guys.
So if you guys have not subscribed to the channel, I definitely will encourage you to do so, because as I mentioned, I bring content like this every single week. So hit the subscribe button. And if you could also hit the thumbs up button to help us spread the word about this amazing live stream that you guys have had an opportunity to enjoy. With that, I will say good night. And certainly if you guys need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us.